lives for the mission field. And that's pretty much where we ended. So we'll continue from there. After years of having his heart pulled to get toward Japan, Brother Bowman was finally going with his family. As he told his mother and father goodbye, it was hard. His father was not a Christian, and he was against them going to Japan. His mother had gotten saved after Donnie grew up. When he told her that he was going to Japan as a missionary, she told him, "Be sure and mind God." A stroke had left her handicapped, and her right arm and hand were useless. She also had a cancer operation and was in poor health. She had to slowly drag her right leg as she followed the family out to the yard to hug them goodbye. The children wrapped their arms around their grandmother. Finally, Brother Bowman bent down to hug his mother goodbye. He was the youngest of her 8 children, and they had been close. "Goodbye, Mother," he said tenderly. He could see the tears in her eyes as she said, "This is probably the last time that you will see me again in this life." Brother Bowman walked to the car, then he turned around and glanced at his mother. It tore his heart out. She was standing in front of the little home by the gate, waving to him. He waved one last time, then slipped out into the car. The picture of her standing at the gate was imprinted in his mind. God whispered to him, "I will reward you for leaving houses, lands, and family for my sake." Brother Bowman found out later that his mother was right. He never saw her alive again. About a year later, she went to be with Jesus. He knew that in heaven she was now healed with 2 good hands to raise and praise to God, and she no longer had to drag her right leg. She would be waiting by the gate for her children and grandchildren to join her. Amen. The family flew to Japan. Here we go. Brother Ikechika, a pastor friend from Tokyo, met them at the airport. It was crowded with tourists excited to see the cherry blossoms. The next day was Easter Sunday. Brother Ikechika escorted them to his church. They maneuvered in and out among the throngs of people who were busily rushing to and fro. It was a miracle that they could even keep up with Brother Ikechika, a short little man. They walked as fast as they could, even running to keep up. They had to make it to the scheduled train or wait for perhaps another hour. Into the subway they went, with doors closing quickly behind them. In and out they went, rushing to different trains, just barely making connections. Brother Bowman preached that morning, and Brother Ikechika interpreted for him. They praised the Lord over and over for helping them to get to Japan. The next step of their journey was to travel to Iwakuni, all on their own, on the slow train that stopped at every little village for about 600 miles. Oh my. They sat facing each other on train seats like park benches, hard and uncomfortable. "Mommy, I'm thirsty. My throat's dry," Joel whimpered. "I'm sorry, Joel, we don't dare drink the water because it is dangerous sometimes for foreigners." When little carts came wheeling by with odd-looking lunches and a supply of soft drinks, they bought some orange drinks. To their disappointment, they were warm. All the people on the train were making over their 3 children and talking to them. Some of them could speak a few words of English, so they were able to understand a little of what was said. The train was already very crowded, and they had to keep trying to make room for more on their cramped bench. Along the way, a drunken man boarded the train. Leaning over Brother and Sister Bowman, he tried to talk to their children, but of course they didn't understand him. Before long, he vomited all over the aisle, splattering on almost everyone's shoes, and it even got on Sister Bowman's legs. Oh. Excitement picked up even more when he pulled a pistol out of his pocket. Being drunk was enough, but this really alarmed everyone. They were praying that the Lord would protect all of them and hoping that Brother Bowman wouldn't have to kick the gun out of his hand. A few stops later, much to their relief, he got off the train. After the 16-hour-long hard train ride, they found a hotel and fell into bed. With the Lord's help, they found a house to rent and got some furniture: a desk, 1 bed, 1 chair, a 2-burner hot plate, and a couple of mats for the children to sleep on the floor. They learned so many new ways to do things. They did their laundry by hand in the newly tiled, high-sided bathtub that only had cold water. If they wanted warm water, they had to build a fire under a big water tank outside. They learned how to shop for food in the Japanese markets. Another obstacle they faced in Japan was the big difference in foods. In Japan, a favorite is raw fish, raw shrimp, or raw octopus, which they found difficult to eat. Someone in their family had to be brave enough to try it, so Brother Bowman became the guinea pig, but he didn't enjoy it. It took Sister Bowman close to a year before she was brave enough to try it. Her first attempt was a failure, as she was not able to keep it down. They had not been in Japan long when they went to a beautiful Japanese home for supper. They called out politely, "Gomen kudasai," which means, "I beg your pardon for intruding, but we're here." The lady of the home, wearing a lovely kimono, met them and, bowing down on her knees, welcomed them in a gracious manner. After removing their shoes upon their invitation to enter, they accepted the slippers she offered them and stepped up onto the main floor, which was like a raised wooden platform. Just beyond this stood sliding doors covered with a lovely paper which they were to enter. They all started in with their slippers on, but with a quick gesture and words which they didn't understand, they realized that they were not allowed to wear the slippers on the tatami mat floor. So, only a few steps from where they had put them on, they had to take the slippers off. They were then offered zabuton cushions and were seated on the floor around a low table. Their hostess left and returned in a short time with her daughter, who was very pleased to be serving her guests a big platter of sushi, which is cold rice flavored with sugar and vinegar, with small pieces of pickle, vegetables, and fish in the middle, and then wrapped in seaweed.
Yum.
Some people love it.
Yeah, some people do.
They had eaten sushi one other time, and so they all thought to themselves, "Oh no, not again." Conveniently, the Japanese family left them alone and went to put the final touches on the second course, except that the Bowmans didn't know that. Thinking this was all that they were going to eat, Brother Bowman tried to make a pretty good showing. Though he didn't like it any better than his family, he told them, "You eat half and I'll help you with the other half."
Oh no.
It is surprising how quickly one can become full on food they are not accustomed to. He had eaten his fill when they brought in the second course. The hostess gave them a pleased look and what seemed to be a favorable remark to show that they had done well on how much of the sushi they had eaten. The truth was that only Brother Bowman had done well. The next dish looked pretty good. In lovely containers with lids, which looked like cups without handles, was this custard-like fish paste with pieces of chicken in it. To say the least, it looked much better than it tasted. "Daddy, I can't eat this," Gary said. "Oh no," Brother Bowman said. "Pass it over." And that's where we'll end.
Oh.